Welcome to Ground Control. In this video, I'm going to perform a tutorial on how to fix a mistake on your plans when you're building your park jet or your aircraft. Anyway, the original plans called for the servos to be laying down in a horizontal position and embedded within the KF2 airfoil. E3 Scott is working with me on this project, and he was ahead of me on the assembly process, and he ran into some issues with the horizontal configuration of the servos. It was, one thing on my part that my oversight was I had forgotten to draw out not only the outline of the servo that I was going to be using for this project, but I forgot to make allowances for the control arm. And even if I had made allowances for the control arm, he pointed out the fact that, that with 2 layers of foam, even with the paper removed, that's 8 millimeters. And so you would not have access to all the holes for your control rod on the control arm. And so that takes away a lot of mechanical trim if you can't use those internal holes on the servo control arm. So what I'm in the process of doing, and this is our alpha build of our Glue and Fly Series F22 Mini version 3. So what I'm in the process of doing is repairing this, because I had already cut out the outline of the servo in a horizontal position in the wing plate, but I had not yet cut it out of the KF2 airfoil. So rather than having to cut out a completely new wing plate, what I'm going to do is I just got my little graphics program and created squares that were 30 millimeters by 35 millimeters. Here's the little piece of paper. I want to cut out as little material as possible, so I just measured the width and the height of this outline of the servo, which I'd already cut out. So what I want to do is I place that over. I know you probably can't see it on camera because they're so faint, but I've already put this little 30 by 35 millimeter square over top of this cutout, and I've traced a perfect rectangle over it. And then what I did was I took a couple of pieces of scrap foam and cut out 30 millimeter by 35 millimeter squares using the same template. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve out that square and remove this outline, and then I'm going to glue these 2 pieces of foam with the paper removed, the 30 by 35 millimeter rectangle of foam. I'm going to glue it back into that wing plate, and that's basically going to save this wing plate. And you won't see the repair because you'll have the KF2 airfoil over top of it, and then right through here you're going to have the skid plate and the nacelle underneath the wing, which is going to be covering that up. So what this repair is going to allow me to do is get this wing plate back to a solid form, and then I'm basically going to cut out a rectangle that's going to be 7 millimeters by 21 millimeters in order to mount the servo into a vertical position rather than a horizontal position, so I can avoid the problems that he ran into when he was building it. So I'm very glad that he alerted me to that before I got any further in my build process. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut out with my X-Acto blade this 30 by 35 millimeter rectangle so that I can fix this foam. Okay, and then I'll start up here. Oh, I think it's time to sharpen my blade again. Okay, now I'm just removing that foam. And then I will be able to take this square and repair that piece. And you can see there's a little gap there. I'll fill in the gap with glue. But so now what I'll be able to do, and I'm going to go ahead and take some on the bottom side of the wing plate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some packing tape, and I'm going to put a square of packing tape over top of this, where, you know, on the bottom of the wing plate, before I attach those 30 by 35 millimeter pieces of foam to repair this, so that it has something to stick to and be level without the glue, you know, coming through and sticking to my work surface here. So the packing tape will add some strength and hold the glue in place, and then after that glue sets up, I will take another square of packing tape and I'll cover the top of it, and then what I will do is take my template and then cut out the square for the servo in the vertical position, and I'm not having to replace this entire wing plate and then cut all my notches and everything and do all my bevels and everything again. So this is going to be a huge time saver. So if you have a small problem like that, an error, or maybe you cut a slot in the wrong spot, you know, maybe you marked it incorrectly, don't get frustrated and don't throw your work away. You know, this is just Adams Ready board, foam board, and it's very easy to work with and it's very easy to repair. So I'll go ahead and pause it here. I'm going to get some packing tape out and get some glue, and we'll go ahead and glue that in place. Okay, I've got my two pieces of packing tape, and I've got my wing plate flipped over. You can see the cutout for the wing spar. This is going to be the bottom of the wing plate. So I'm going to take my pieces of packing tape and I'm going to tape over top of that area and get my other one. Oop. Okay. Now that I have the tape in place, I'm going to flip it back over, and then I'm going to take my glue, and I'm using foam cure. And I'm going to put some glue around the edges here, all around the perimeter of this square that I've cut out. Make sure that you have a couple of small pieces of scrap foam as well. Alright. And then I'm going to take my square foam and I'm going to seat it down in there. And I'm going to take one of my scrap pieces of foam here. I'm going to put a little bit of a little bit of glue right in that, right along the crack, right along the seam of this repair square that I'm putting in here. Okay, and then I'm basically going to take this scrap piece of foam and I'm going to squeegee that glue right down in there. Okay. Alright. Now, as soon as that glue cures, as soon as it sets up, then what I will do is I will go ahead and take another square of packing tape and I will cover the top of it, and then that thing will be just about as good as new, and I will be able to cut out those holes again for the servo and seat the servo in the vertical position instead of the horizontal position. So, you know, it's a simple repair. It doesn't take a lot of time to do it. It takes about a quarter of the time for me to do it if I'm just doing it, not videotaping it. You know what I mean? So yeah. So in no time at all, I'll have this foam plate completely repaired and ready to go again, and without having to throw anything away. So there you go. I hope that that helps you guys. If you ever make a mistake in your foam board, it's easily repaired. It's not a big deal. Just repair it and move on. You'll be good to go. So thanks for watching. Please give a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to check out our Patreon site. We have a lot of free content there as well. And I will see you in the air.